He's got very thick, dark eyebrows and quite a small forehead, which I do actually relate to myself, so I'm not judging him for that. His stature as a leader, he's a very diminished figure, so it's almost trying to capture the essence of that person but using their physical features. He's not the tallest man in the world. He's always got a suit that feels quite tight, so there's always some socks and a bit of leg on show. He's probably someone that wears his shoes, several sizes too big as well, as this sort of optical illusion, along with the suit to sort of make him appear slightly bigger. It's trying to capture their soul slightly. So with Rishi, we've kind of got this sort of plucky guy who wanted to run the country like a sort of tech startup with his smart suits and Prada shoes, but yeah, hasn't quite worked out that way for him. Ever since I was a kid, I'd always drawn cartoons. I was a kid before the days of the internet and without a PlayStation, so it was a good thing to keep me quiet. I tend to start the day with the Today programme just to get an initial sense of what my subject might be for today. But I never really knew what being a cartoonist was till I was a bit older and I was introduced to the work of Gerald Scarfe and Ralph Steadman and became kind of mesmerised with the art form. Arrival at the studio. Yeah, so this is my studio space. As you can see, I don't like particularly blank walls. It's just nice to have lots of visual material around that might spark some sort of idea or way of doing things. No direct plagiarism, but cartooning generally is an exaggerated art form. Everything is very bold and stretched, and so with a caricature, you're always trying to sort of push it, but to try and really capture the essence of that figure. I think Gerald Scarfe described it once like when you've got a bit of chewing gum and you pull it and pull it and pull it and eventually it will snap, and in this analogy that's when it stopped looking like them. It was too extreme, but as long as you can keep that bit of gum together, then I'll take it as far as I'll be allowed what is deemed publishable. During an election period, it's like the news agenda goes on steroids. You then become very aware of the sound bites and the slogans, and as a cartoonist, you're just constantly like a sponge feeding off all of that. As it was the first England game yesterday, it could be the time now for some sort of tired football pun. So I'm thinking potentially we could have Keir Starmer, who's sort of from day one has been expected to win, and that's almost been a foregone conclusion. He could be taking a penalty, and he's got a massive goal and a very unimposing Sunak as keeper. How small shall I make? Reform are dropping their manifesto today. I was thinking we could have Farage invading the pitch, sort of pitch invader streaker, trying to steal the show, potentially being chased by all the cameras and media who love the spectacle, can't get enough of it. My favourite people to draw, it's often a tricky one that, because the favourite people to draw are the ones you kind of despair at as a citizen, but as a cartoonist they're providing you with lots of material and ideas. It's quite depressing to think that I've actually been drawing Farage for about 10 years now. It's quite grotesque the way I draw Farage, and that reflects him and his politics. Farage is essentially pretty much all mouth in regards to the caricature as well as the man himself. Obviously Boris Johnson was a sort of figure that, had been around for a long time, and as time went on I simplified it to the point where it was just this blonde mop of hair and his protruding Pinocchio nose. He's got quite distinctive eyes, which I used to use in my portrayal of him, but eventually I just covered because it kind of gave this sense of him not really having a vision other than his own kind of elevation, and it was just him sort of bumbling from one calamity to the next. I think there's a sense at the moment, certainly with the election, that people have just had enough now of things not working, feeling poorer, and that's where I think cartoons can add to that sort of cacophony of discontent. And yeah, I suppose as austerity has really started to bite, I try and make work that does sort of hold a mirror up to that and reflect the way the country's changed over the last 14 years. I can sort of sit and draw these things and they belong to me when I'm doing that, and then you put it out there into the world and then people can interpret it any way they want. It sort of no longer belongs to me anymore in a sense.
What we meant to say, what we think about it.
Stick with me, the plan is working, the plan is clearly not working. It hasn't worked for ages.
I mean, he said he knows what poverty's like. He didn't have a satellite dish. He don't know. See, the politicians make me mad.
It's definitely underfunded. Staff are 100% underpaid. Services are stretched. It's not looking good.
I don't blame the NHS at all. I blame that the lack of funding over 14 years, you know.
Well, my daughter's a nurse, and she worked all through that COVID. She was literally shattered. And when she come home and took those masks off, she was all marked and hot.
They need so much more help.
Yeah.
It just instills sadness, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's a harsh but true.
I wait for my kids to eat, and then if they leave stuff, I finish that. Got a bit of hay fever, but not crying. But I might as well be crying. I was thinking about going to the food bank actually last week. I don't know how desperate you are to go to the food bank, but I'm certainly overdrawn, and it's quite hard.
Change. Well, we need change, but I don't know whether they're going to do it. So
Time will tell. If Labour can turn it round, then they can turn it round, but I can't believe what they will. And I don't like Keir Starmer.
We need people who are going to stand for what is right, for what is moral. Things can definitely change with the right representation.
The makeup of the government, it feels, is going to look very different soon, and I think we could all be happy for that. Whether what comes next will be as transformational as perhaps the country needs and wants is yet to be seen. I mean, it'd be brilliant if it was, if it all turned out to be great and I could sort of just go and do watercolours or something instead. Just finishing touches now. But there's always going to be plenty of material for me as a cartoonist, and that tends to be how I communicate, and I try and let cartoons do the talking most of the time.